Greetings, my peeps, and welcome to the All Things Basketball Podcast with your boy GD. In this episode, I'll be doing my Week 17 recap, and that'll be more fallout from the All-Star Game and All-Star Weekend. Also, Luka make his debut for the Lakers, so we'll talk about that as well. Naismith Hall of Fame finalists, we'll definitely get into that. Also, some WNBA news and other stuff as well. So just sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Okay, guys, it's your boy GD back with the All Things Basketball with GD podcast. And guys, we are now at Week 18, which means Week 17 recap is here for you, and we will get it underway right about now. Now, this week, no player of the week, so we won't have that. We'll save that for the following week. But there's a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Luka Doncic, he makes his debut with the LA Lakers. He plays on February 10th, a game that I watched because I wanted to see the reception for him, and there was a warm reception for him. And he got his feet wet playing with LeBron, and they look good together. I'm not going to lie about that. But Luka Doncic, I think he's going to be turned on and motivated coming the latter half of the season. So in this game, they did win. It was a blowout. They would beat the Utah Jazz at home. Luka in this game, he played 24 minutes, scored 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. And LeBron for the game, 24 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds to seal the win for the Lakers. So, sometimes you need that shot in the arm, and I think this can do that for the Lakers. I'm still a bit concerned with the size as far as big men go. They're really thin in that regard. So we'll see what happens long term. But as of now, Luka's in the fold, so we'll see what becomes of that. Again, as I said with the trade to get him, I think being around a guy like LeBron, someone who fully invests in his body, I think that will go a long way for Luka Doncic. You know, a lot of the rumblings coming out of Dallas, oh, he was never in shape and this and that. And for a guy not to be in shape and he's still able to make 5 All-NBA teams, that's saying something. And to be an all-star that many times as well, that, you say, could you imagine if he's in tip-top shape what he does? So, but again, I think it's a shot in the arm for the Lakers. We'll see how JJ Redick handles things. Will he do like will he space them out where you have LeBron on the floor a good amount of time with the guys, then Luka? This way you kind of, space out them because, they're both guys that demand the ball. So we'll see what happens. But it's looked very encouraging for the Lakers the latter half of the season. Again, my concern is the size inside. So we'll see. So that is your Laker news as far as Luka goes. Let's continue. More All-Star weekend or All-Star game fallout. KD. KD goes after the critics of the All-Star game. Here's what he says. I think it's more fun to complain about the NBA than actually watch it. Crazy. Cancel All-Star weekend and let's just give everybody a break since we're so miserable around this time. And he said this on Twitter. So, he's getting a lot of flack. But here's my question to KD. Are you the guy who said this? Take a listen.
Hey, absolutely. You can tell All-Star game formats changing, all the formats are terrible in my opinion. And we should just go back to East West. I think we've been trying to bring that flair back somehow with the All-Star weekend, but I think we just keep it tradition. We'll see how this one works. You never know. I might be wrong. I'm just another guy with an opinion, but we'll see how it works. Absolutely.
So, KD, this was 2 months ago that you said this. You hate the format. You said it yourself. You hate the format. They should go back to East and West. Now, when people criticize it, which, everyone has a right to, you get up in arms about the critics of a format that you didn't like initially. So, KD, come on, man. You got to be consistent with it. Now, if you initially said, we'll see what happens with it, the fact that you said you hated out the gate that makes you look like a hypocrite right now. So I'm just saying, KD, and that's the thing, this kind of stuff stays forever in the ether. So when you go after people for criticizing the All-Star game in the format, somebody will play that and be like, wait a minute, KD, you said this similar thing. So there you go with that. But, KD is KD, and then he was going after people on social media about it. And I think there was one that I wanted to read. Oh, yes. This is what he had to say about, this was a reply to somebody. All-Star games used to be a layup line back in the day. Until late in the game, then the intensity would ramp up. The three-point shot and how many we take, by the time you ready to ramp up, somebody's down 40 already. They don't have to worry about that as much back in the day. You could shoot middies and showcase dunks, and the game wouldn't get out of hand. So this is his argument as far as the players not going full throttle in the All-Star game. To that I say, that's a load of crap, because you can prevent all this by stopping your opponent from shooting all these threes and making them. So what are we even talking about here? All the fan asks for is a little effort. That's all we're asking for, guys. A little effort in the All-Star game. Not allow a team to score over 200 points, which happened last year. Just some effort. That's all the fan asks for. Fans, especially for an All-Star game, you're shelling out a lot of cash to watch that game. So come on, give the fans something. That's all we're saying, KD. That's all we're saying. So I'll just leave that there. Next, you had Trae Young. He didn't like the game. He said it was too quick and too many breaks. Couldn't get into a flow. And actually, I know this is sacrilege being a Knicks fan. I agree with Trae Young. I agree with him. There was too many breaks. There was two in the games. You go up to 40 in the NBA, a team could score 40 points at the blink of an eye. So I agree with Trae Young. If you had a full game, you wouldn't have to go through this. So Trae Young is right in this regard. Again, as a Knicks fan, I know it's sacrilege to agree with a Trae Young, but I agree. It was way too quick. I mean, and, Steph getting the MVP award, just scoring 12 points. What is that? So I agree with Trae Young. It should have been a full-fledged game, but again, and then just to Trae, your fellow contemporaries put y'all in this position. So come next year, we'll see where they go with it. I don't think they return to this format. That's my early opinion. I don't think they return to this unless they extend it to like 50. But even with that, I don't know if you still have the competitive juices going. But in any event, so that's what Trae Young had to say. Former coach and longtime Spur Avery Johnson, he was on CBS Sports HQ. He was on a show called Behind the Arc. And this is what he had to say about it. He said, delete this version of the All-Star game. Go back to East versus West. He also said it will take peer pressure to turn this thing around in terms of the All-Star game itself. In other words, it's going to take guys playing to put pressure on their fellow players to ramp it up and, go at it in the All-Star game. Also, he said Wemby has a chance to set that tone because I don't know if you saw the game, but at the end of the final game, when Shaq's OGs won, you saw Wembayama for Chuck's Global Stars. He was kind of ticked off that they lost. So that kind of attitude maybe can permeate a locker room. Right now, he does have the cachet, his second year in the league. So I guess he's got to get some pelts under his belt, so to speak. And then playing in the Olympics versus playing USA versus the world in an all-star setting is two different things, which I'll grant you that. In one instance, you're playing for your country. In the other instance, where you have the world, you got a bunch of guys from different countries. So there's that. So would there be a challenge of playing hard in that? So you have that as well. And then he made a plea, no more Mac McClung in the dunk contest. To which I said, I kind of said the same thing. I understand, I get it. He's won 3 in a row. He's a guy who's brought some excitement to the dunk contest. But NBA players, come on, man. For the 3rd year in a row, you got shown up by a guy in the G League. That's not good. That's not good. And a guy who's only appeared in 5 games in the NBA. So there's that. But that's what Avery Johnson had to say. I thought it was very compelling thoughts that he had in that regard. So there you have that. And my last bit of all-star stuff, Rob Parker. You guys, how I feel about this guy. He's in the hot take business. He's in the crazy take business now. He first said that Caitlin Clark owes it to the NBA to perform in a 3-point contest against said player, probably Steph Curry or somebody. Here's what Caitlin Clark had to say, though. She said if she's going to appear in a 3-point contest, she would rather it be in her league. What is wrong with that? For her to have her first 3-point contest in a staged NBA event, she didn't want that. So I applaud her for that. And again, Caitlin Clark, she's trying to take it easy, Fine, she's going to these games and so forth. But as far as playing and doing all that, she's taking it easy, man. She was burnt out coming to the end of the season, guys. From all she had to endure, again, doing college, having to run in the tournament where she got to the finals, and then training camp, then playing in the league, the W, and then people like Stephen A. clamoring for her to play in the Olympics. And when she didn't get picked, this allowed her to rest her body a bit. She came in that second half. Their team roared into the playoffs. So her body needed the rest, guys. So for Rob Parker to say she owes it to the NBA to do that, that's nonsense. Enough already, because he says, oh, because the NBA, they financially support the WNBA and all this and that. Enough with that. And then the topper of it all, Adam Silver is the worst commissioner in sports because of how he allowed this thing to take place as far as changing the All-Star game format and all that. Rob, you're not going to put the onus on the players? You're not going to put this at the feet of the players? Adam Silver, as a commissioner, he was at wit's end on how to fix this thing. He saw what happened last year with the 200 points. He said, I got to do something. So, you throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. So he said, let's try this. So you can't credit him. Now, he'll be a worse commissioner if he says, oh, they scored the 200 points last year. Let's do this again. No, he tried to do something different. And then next year, I imagine, again, this is early. I think he's going to go somewhere else. And we'll see what happens with that. But he had to attempt something. And to say he's the worst commissioner in sports, I digress from that. I'm not going to go there. But, yeah, I think that's a bit much. I think that's a wee bit strong on your part, Rob Parker. So I'll just leave that alone. So, guys, that's the rest of your All-Star 4. Oh, and one more thing. Everybody was saying, oh, where was Steph during the three-point contest? He should have been in it. Not Buddy Hield. Mind you, Buddy Hield performed great. And he was just one shot away from winning it. But you got to remember, Steph Curry was the ambassador for the whole event, All-Star Weekend. So he was going around, him and his wife was doing, this community stuff and all that. When was he going to have time to squeeze himself into getting himself ready for a three-point contest? So y'all can miss me with that. Usually when the guy from the host city has the All-Star game, he's got to be the man about town. So for people to say, oh, he should have been in the three-point contest, y'all can miss me with that too, because like I said, he was pretty much the ambassador for everything Golden State, everything Bay Area. So that y'all can lose me with that. The man was going about doing this thing, and he saved himself for Sunday where he ended up getting the MVP award. So I say it was a successful weekend for Steph in that regard. So there you go. All right, so that's all the All-Star stuff. Let us continue. Brandon Ingram. Remember, guys, he got traded to Toronto. He got traded from New Orleans Pelicans and went to Toronto. They gave him a 3-year extension at $120 million. So Toronto Raptors, obviously, they see Brandon Ingram in their future. So they give him this extension, guys. Mind you, he still hasn't played since December 7th with that ankle sprain. So they're not concerned about the injury, whether it's career-threatening or anything else. They're being cautious. Oh, by the way, they already said that he probably won't play in the month of February. So we're looking at probably a March debut for Brandon Ingram. So keep an eye out for that. But Brandon Ingram, he gets his bag. He gets his bag, guys. 3 years, $120 million. So there you go. Again, I'm trying to see how he fits into everything. Like I said, you got an RJ Barrett there. You got a Grady Dick there as well. So where does he fit in that regard as far as small forward, shooting guard? Where do you put him? So we'll see what happens with that. So there's that bit of business. Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Your finalists are here, guys. And this is how it shakes out. For your North American Committee finalists, you have Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Marcus Johnson, and Buck Williams. Those are the players. As far as the coaches, Billy Donovan, Mark Few of Gonzaga fame, Donovan of Florida, and Jerry Welsh. And then also you have the 2008 Redeem team, that famous team there that came and won the gold after the gold was lost in 2004. And then Danny Crawford, a referee. Now, as far as the players go, Carmelo Anthony, it's funny, I was at a networking event last night, and me and one of the guys was talking about it, going back and forth about it. He's saying that Carmelo shouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Fame. I said, I don't know, that's a bit strong. This is his resume, guys. 10 All-Star games, scoring champ once, NCAA champion, 3-time Olympic gold for Carmelo Anthony. With that kind of resume, I understand, I get it, as far as the playoffs in the NBA, he didn't go as far as one would think. I think he reached a Western Conference final, but that wasn't to be. But, I mean, and then when he left the league, he was about 8th in scoring until just recently. So, Carmelo Anthony, he'll be a first ballot. I get it. I understand as far as the playoff success and all those things, but he's going to get in. Let's put it this way. If a Tracy McGrady gets in first ballot, why not a Carmelo Anthony? Similar sort of resume somewhat, although Melo even got further in the playoffs than a Tracy McGrady, so go figure that out. But I think he gets in first ballot. Dwight Howard. We talked about that as well. Here's his resume, guys. 8-time All-Star, 5 times All-NBA first team, just first team, guys. 3 times Defensive Player of the Year. Led the league in rebounding 5 times, guys. Led it in blocks twice. He's an NBA champion. He won it with his second stint with the Lakers. And he's won Olympic gold twice. So Dwight Howard, I believe, I wouldn't say it's a no-brainer, but yeah, pretty much. I mean, that first part of Dwight Howard's career, you can't argue it. Some people will say, oh, he didn't have much competition, so, this and that. And then remember, too, guys, he carried his Orlando Magic team all the way to the finals, guys. All the way to the finals. Only to lose, but he got them to the finals. A team where it was him and, a bunch of shooters. So there's that. So I think he's first ballot as well. Marcus Johnson. I think a lot of people forget about Marcus Johnson because he started to rise towards the late 70s into the 80s. And then in the 80s, he was succumbed by the likes of a Julius Erving, a Larry Bird coming into the league, James Worthy, Dominique Wilkins. But Marcus Johnson, you could speak about him amongst those guys. That's how good he was. His Milwaukee Bucks team was very good as well. He is a 5-time All-Star. He's a comeback player of the year, which he won when he went to the Clippers, I believe. He's an NCAA champion with UCLA. 3 times All-NBA, once first team, and then 2 second team All-NBAs. So Marcus Johnson, again, I think a lot of people sleep on him, forget about him, but for my money, he's a Hall of Famer. And then you have Buck Williams. Buck Williams, 3-time All-Star, 4 times All-Defensive Team, Rookie of the Year, by the way. And his first 7 years in the league, he averaged a double-double as far as points and rebounds go. So Buck Williams, you could say, is he? And the thing with him, he was a leader. He was a guy in the locker room that, in those New Jersey Net teams, those were some of the more competitive teams before Jason Kidd came along. But these teams were kind of hitting their feet under them because the Nets were woeful at one point, guys. But they started to do some winning with Buck Williams around. But so we'll see what happens in that regard. So that's your North American finalists. The women committee finalists. Guys, all 4 of these ladies could go in easily. Jennifer Azzi, Sue Bird, Sylvia Fowles, and of course the incomparable Maya Moore. Between all 4 of these ladies, 12 Olympic gold medals, 10 times a WNBA champ, 2 MVPs, and 5 NCAA championships amongst these 4 ladies. So any of these ladies can go. We know about Sue Bird, her 20-year run. We know about that. Sylvia Fowles, dominant big, both in college and then coming to the pros. Jennifer Azzi, part of that legendary 1996 Olympic team that ushered in the WNBA and another league as well. And Maya Moore, what more can we say? In 8 years, what she was able to accomplish, everywhere that woman went, she was a winner. So, amazing resume. So, I think you could put all 4 in and not get an argument, but we'll see. I think Azzi could get slighted again. I hope not. I think she deserves to be in, which also means, too, not among the finalists yet again, Shamika Holdsclaw. What are we doing, guys? Shamika Holdsclaw should be in the Hall of Fame. And again, one day I'll run down her resume. Maybe I'll even do a player spotlight on her. But there's that. And then you have other people like Molly Bolin. I saw an Instagram post talking about her career. She is the first pro basketball player back in the ABL days to score 50 points in a game. She was a bucket, guys. So I like to read more history about her, but she's on the Veterans Committee finalist list, so she could possibly make it in. And then Mickey Arison as a contributor, the longtime Miami Heat's owner. He saw multiple championships, guys, so he could possibly get in as well. So we'll see. All right, guys, so that's your finalists for the Hall of Fame, the Naismith Hall of Fame. Let's move on. Sacramento Kings. They're adding some depth, guys. They add Markelle Fultz. Markelle Fultz was on the sideline all this time. Former Philadelphia 76ers. Remember, they took him first overall in that 2017 draft. And then also he played for the Orlando Magic, where he pretty much resurrected his career. 7 years in the league. Mind you, he Yeah, 7 years in the league, guys. He averaged over 11 points per game, over 4.5 assists, well over 3 rebounds, and well over a steal per game for him. Only thing, guys, he's played in 60 or more games in a season only twice. He's had an injury-riddled career, but Markelle Fultz added to the Sacramento Kings to help them in that regard. Because right now they don't really have a true point guard. So there you go. Let us continue. The Lakers signed center Alex Len in the aftermath of the rescinded Mark Williams trade. And in the process, they waived off injured Christian Wood. Remember, Christian Wood was a guy? Now injuries just beset him, guys. Now, Alex Len was in a multi-team deal back at the trade deadline between Sacramento. He was at Sacramento, Memphis, and Washington. So he ends up in Washington. Washington then waives him. And initially he thought he was heading to the Indiana Pacers, another team that kind of needs size because of the injuries to their big men. But the Lakers somehow got involved, and as it always happens, he ends up a Laker. So go figure. He's played for the Phoenix Suns. He was drafted by them back in 2013, 5th overall. He played with Atlanta, with Sacramento twice, with Toronto, with Washington almost twice, and then he gets waived. 12 years in the league, nearly 7 points per game, over 5 rebounds for him. So Alex Len, the Lakers are desperate for big man help. So they add in Alex Len, and I'll explain more why they really need him right now. So, but Alex Len, now a Laker. Moving on, Mark Williams. I just spoke about him. He's finally reported back to Charlotte after the rescinded trade to the Lakers that fell through on February 5th. So there was a bit of tug of war there. He felt slighted by the Hornets organization, so he was mulling not returning back to the team, hurt feelings and all those things. So basically, Mark Williams is back in the fold now. Now, the question is, does he get his starting job back? Because right now, you have on your depth chart, let's say you put Mark Williams back as a starter. Then you have Diabate. So you have him as well. You have Taj Gibson, and then Jusuf Nurkic. Remember, they got Nurkic at the trade deadline because they figured we're losing Mark Williams, so let's get Nurkic. So if I were a team like a Lakers, like I guess Indiana Pacers, I would watch this situation closely. I don't believe they'll waive Mark Williams. Mosa, I think they keep. Taj Gibson, he's just a locker room guy that you keep around. But I would watch carefully what they do with Jusuf Nurkic. If he's not getting the minutes that he wants, maybe he gets waived or bought out. And if the Lakers were to somehow get their hands on the Jusuf Nurkic, a guy who can defend the post, a guy who can rebound, I think that could go a long way if the Lakers were able to get their hands on a guy like him. But again, they brought in Alex Len, but Alex Len is no Jusuf Nurkic. I'm sorry. That's I don't think I'm speaking out of school saying that. So there you go. All right, guys. So let us continue. Injuries, just 2 to talk about, guys. Jaxson Hayes for the Los Angeles Lakers. We're still on Lakers business, guys. He left a February 12th game early with a face contusion. Diagnosis, it was to be announced, but I just got word that all is good. He's okay. So he should be available for the next Laker game. So the Lakers dodge a bullet here because they were kind of in dire straits as far as center goes. I understand you brought in Alex Len, but Jaxson Hayes was the guy you were really going with. So if that's the case, it'll be Jaxson Hayes and then Alex Len to back him up. So there you have that. And then Daniel Gafford for the Dallas Mavericks. You talk about the snowball effect over here. He's out for 2 weeks or possibly more with a knee strain. Already, guys, you're without Anthony Davis, who you just got in a trade. Derek Lively, remember he had sustained his injury. He's going to be out for a while. And then Dwight Powell, longtime Maverick. But he's supposed to be close to a return. We'll see. So, I mean, you talk about desperation setting in, guys, as far as bigs go with Dallas. And speak of Dallas, they're probably another team looking at that Nurkic situation closely. So, a lot of teams thirsty for big man help. So there you have that. All right, so that's the injury news, guys. Pretty short. Let us talk about top performances. There was only 4 nights of games, guys, but a lot of good performances. Top for me, guys, Jamal Murray. He goes absolutely nuts. And this was on February 12th in a win over the Portland Trail Blazers. How about 55 points, guys? Jesus. He dropped 7 threes in the game. This is a career high for Jamal Murray. Now, Jamal Murray, guys, he's had a slow start. He started to warm up a little bit. You know, had some nicks and pain a little bit, but he's starting to come around, guys. And when this guy is on fire like this, the Denver Nuggets are absolutely dangerous. So Jamal Murray with a career high 55 points. Along with that, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals. And Nikola Jokic, another day at the office, another triple-double for him. 26 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals. Christian Braun, who's been playing very well, guys. 21 points, 10 rebounds, so he gets him a double-double, 6 assists, and 2 steals for him. So there you go for the Denver Nuggets. Karl Anthony Towns has him a heck of a week. He has back-to-back 40-point games, guys. He drops 40 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals in a February 11th win at Indiana, guys. So they head into Indiana, the Knicks do, and get the win on the road with Karl Anthony Towns going absolutely crazy. And then, mind you, Josh Hart, he has a monster game. 30 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists for him in that game. So Josh Hart coming up big time on the road, guys. And in the loss, Pascal Siakam, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. And then the following night, Karl Anthony Towns, 44 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and they get the overtime win at the Garden, beating their arch nemesis, the Atlanta Hawks. Righting a wrong because they lost a couple of games already to Atlanta, guys. And this was in a overtime game. The final score was 149-148. So a high-scoring affair. So much so, Stephen A., he goes nuts Talk about he's not happy because they're giving up too many points and so forth. He's always got to cry about something. No good for him. So there you have that. But the Knicks get the win. Jalen Brunson, 36 points, along with 8 assists. So he has a nice game. Precious Achiuwa, guys, 26 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. And then Josh Hart doing Josh Hart things, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. And on the losing side, Trae Young leads the way with 38 points and 19 assists. Wow. Killing it. So there you have that. Few more. Let's see. Anthony Edwards, he has a 44-point game where he drops 8 threes, but he does it in a loss on February 10th, a loss at Cleveland. So he does that in a loss, guys. 42-point performances for Kyrie Irving, beating the Golden State Warriors on February 12th. DeMar DeRozan with a 42-point performance in an overtime win at the Dallas Mavericks. Nikola Jokic, he has a 40-point performance, along with 8 assists, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, and he does that in a February 10th win at Portland. CJ McCollum, he has these kind of explosion games every now and again, 43 points, of which he dropped 7 threes, along with 7 rebounds in a overtime win versus the Sacramento Kings in a game where Domantas Sabonis, he's putting up absolutely crazy numbers. 22 points, 28 rebounds, good gracious, of which he had 13 offensive rebounds. Wow. Along with 5 assists. Zach LaVine with his new team, 32 points, of which he drops 5 threes, 10 rebounds for the double-double, and 3 steals in that game. Tyler Herro on his way out, he has a 40-point performance. He does that, though, in a loss on February 13th at the Dallas Mavericks, a game with no Kyrie and no center help whatsoever. They get the win. Dante Exum, remember him, guys? He was a lottery pick for the Utah Jazz. 27 points he scores in the game. And then everyone's darling, Norman Powell, 41 points, of which he drops 5 threes in a February 13th win at the Utah Jazz. So Norman Powell with his tremendous season carrying on that. James Harden in that game, 32 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists for him. So, yeah, so that, and then Jordan Poole, he has a 42-point game in an overtime loss versus the Pacers. He dropped 6 threes in the game, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. But again, that's an overtime loss for him. In a game where a friend of ours, Obi Toppin, has a monster game, 31 points, of which he dropped 6 threes and 10 rebounds. So he has a double-double there. All right, guys. So that is it for that. A couple more things, and then we're done. GD's Big Five. We'll talk about that right quick. At the top, I have Cleveland now overtaking the Oklahoma City Thunder. Both have the same record, but Cleveland's soaring right now with a 4-game win streak, so I put them at the top, followed by OKC. Both teams 44-10. Boston third. They maintained third place all season long on my list, 39-16. Knicks at 36-18. Actually have the same record as the Memphis Grizzlies, but the Knicks, they're on a 2-game win streak as opposed to Memphis. So I give the Knicks the edge. So, and Memphis, like I said, the 5th team there. All right, guys. So a couple of last things, and then we're out of here. WNBA news, guys. Indiana Fever adds more reinforcements, guys. They signed Sid Colson of the Las Vegas Aces. So the Aces lose another key player, guys. And Sid Colson, she was a person who kept the team loose on the bench there. She provided backup health when Chelsea Gray was on the shelf. She was kind of in there to absorb some of those minutes. But she's gone now, and you know her relationship with A'ja Wilson. For her to leave, I don't know what's happening with Las Vegas right now. I'll talk about that more at a later date. And then Brianna Turner of the Chicago Sky. She played there last season. So both of them joined the Indiana Fever. I tell you what, guys, they're loading up for bear, guys. They already have DeWanna Bonner in the fold. She had her press conference, and she's enjoying it out there so far. Natasha Howard, she's back where she first got drafted. You also have Sophie Cunningham, who came over in a trade from the Phoenix Sun, not the Phoenix Suns, the Phoenix Mercury. So you have that. So they're loading up, guys. So we'll see what happens. On paper, they're looking dangerous. And then the LA Sparks, they trade guard Lexie Brown along with a 2025 26 pick overall. And that's going to Seattle for their 2025 21st pick and then a 2027 second rounder. So Lexie Brown, you know, guys, Kelsey Plum is in the fold now. She had her press conference, and, you know, a lot of people are trying to make a big thing of what she said, talk about during the recruiting by the LA Sparks of her. They were basically saying, well, she's basically said this is the best she's ever been treated in her career, thus getting the antennas up of people saying, oh, it must have been bad over there. A'ja Wilson, this and that. So I'm not going to speculate that far. I have to delve more into that before I go there. So, but Lexie Brown on the move to Seattle. Who can use her, guys? You know, they lost Jewel Lloyd in that big trade over there. In fact, the trade that involved Kelsey Plum. So you kind of get a guard back now in Lexie Brown to kind of fill the shoes of Jewel Lloyd. Not necessarily fill the shoes, but at least a guard you can have over there. Connecticut Sun denies Marina Mabrey's trade request for now. For now, they have basically said it was Jen Rosati, the team president, saying that, in fact, I have the quote of what she said. Hang on a second. Here's what Jen Rosati says. This is according to Eric Jackson of Sportico. She made it clear. We're not hitting the panic button. We feel good. We feel good about the moves that we've made. We've been very intentional in our priorities as far as that goes. And the thing is, when the Connecticut Sun got her, they understood, hey, she came here via a trade request. So it could be possible she can do that again. And thus, here we are. But this is Marina Mabrey's agent. This is Crenshaw. I get his first name. In this current age of women's empowerment and support of the players, the Connecticut Sun threatening to force Marina Mabrey to play for them after her trade request is mind-boggling. Why would anyone try to force someone to play on their team when they don't want to be there? It's counterproductive in a ton of ways, and everyone we have spoken to is perplexed about how they are handling Marina after trading away Hall of Fame caliber players. talking about Alyssa Thomas. She's the only one who got traded. The other two went in free agency, so I don't know what he's talking about there. The coach parted ways, no free agents returned, and they're doing all they can to try and force Marina to stay where she clearly doesn't want to be there. It's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't say the cabinet is fully bare. You do have a Natasha Cloud there. Whatever they get in as far as the draft goes, but we'll see what happens. But Marina Mabrey and her people not happy. So there you go. And then the last thing, the Cleveland franchise now rewarded a WNBA team. So remember, they had a Cleveland Rockers team back during their inception. Now Cleveland will get another team coming in the near future. But my whole question is, how can Cleveland get one before Houston does and before Detroit does? And then that there's a push for Candace Parker and a group that she has to get a team in Tennessee and call them the Tennessee Summit, which I love. I love the name, in tribute to her late coach, Pat Summitt. So there you have that. But Cleveland, I was surprised Cleveland's getting a franchise. Again, before Detroit, before Houston. So I don't know. There you go with that. All right, guys. I thank you for listening as always. All things basketball with GD.com. That's the website. Guys, everything is on there. Support button. Support this show, guys. I keep it in the scroll of every show. How you can support this show. Cash App, $GD, that sports dude. $GD, that sports dude. That's one way to give. My Spotify button, buy me a coffee button, PayPal button on the website, guys. Podcast platforms, I'm on all of them, Apple included. Also, guys, YouTube, I have a presence there as well. I post my videos on LinkedIn, on Blue Sky, and I make my shorts on TikTok, all the things. So, and then social media, IG, TikTok, Blue Sky, not so much Facebook, no Twitter, and fan base, still on the fence with that. So I'm there, but I'm not there. Well, go figure. All right, guys. Thank you for listening as always. Guys, I did want to do a mid-season awards kind of thing, although it's well over mid-season, but I want to do that and my Knicks mid-season as well report card. I'll get to that as well. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. As always, we'll talk soon. Take care.